All right. What is going on, everybody? Look at that. 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on the dot. If you guys are here for the first time, which I don't know if you would have seen this any other way unless you were subscribed, or maybe you're coming off my Facebook. But my name is Miguel Quiles. I'm a Sony artisan of imagery based out of Orlando, Florida. And today we had some massive, like mega announcement from Sony with the Alpha 1 camera, their new top of the line, the new big dog on the block. We're going to talk all about it. I'm going to share with you guys what I know. And they also, at the same time, also introduced their new smartphone, which is the Xperia Pro, which I happen to have here with me today. I've been playing around with this for about the last, let me see if I can hide my eyeballs here. I'm going to do that. So Xperia Pro is here. So any questions that you guys have about the Xperia Pro, I can answer them directly on the live stream today. But of course, on the Alpha 1, I'm going to be going just like most of you guys and gals did today, going through the specs and kind of looking through and seeing the things that I personally think are really exciting about the device. And I want to hear what you all think. What are you excited about? What don't you like? Let's start this chat. Let's get this conversation and dialogue going. So let me know in the comment section where you guys are watching from. As I mentioned, I'm here in Orlando, Florida. The weather outside is really beautiful. We are rocking, what is it, 75-degree weather outside. So really beautiful weather. Here in my studio, I like to keep it cold, which is why I got my jacket on. But let's see. So Smart Shot is in the house. How's it going? Logan Deddy, what's happening? Good to see you. Virginia Beach. Charlie Papas, how are you? Jeff Jeter says, yes, insane. Yeah, I thought the same thing, man. When I saw the specs being read, they came right out of the gate too with like 50 megapixel, 30 frames a second. And I'm thinking, but how? Right? Like that by itself is already like a pretty big headline. That's a pretty big deal to be, working with a full frame sensor, 50 megapixels, 30 frames a second is like madness, but then they just kept hitting, like after that announcement, like here, it does this, it does this, it does this, 8K video, 30-minute recording limit, 30 minutes. Like I have an FX9 right behind me. I can't do 8K for half a second, let alone 30 minutes. You know what I mean? It's absolutely insane. Raw output, it's crazy. Anyway, going back to the comments here, we'll talk more about that here momentarily. TW in Germany. Kara, how's it going? Altric from Nebraska, good to see you. Oscar, watching from Jacksonville, Florida, just a few hours away. Good to see you. We got Vicente from Valencia, Spain. Good to see you. Fred in Tampa. Charlie says he's in Connecticut and it's snowing. I don't know anything about that. We don't have that snow down here. So this was something interesting because you all know, like I'm a flash photographer. I do studio portraiture. So that was something that I think may have gotten lost. But I know the people that shoot with off-camera flash were like, whoa, wait a second. So being able to shoot flash with silent shutter, I mean, that's something that like my brain can't even process. That shouldn't be possible, but somehow they were able to make this happen. So I'm going to pull this thing up here really quick. I'm going to go split screen here. And let's see if I can share my screen. All right, so let's share Chrome tab and we will go to Alpha 1. Okay, cool. All right, so let's take a look at some of these specs here and kind of talk about this. So, You have electronic shutter flash sync up to 1/200th of a second for the first time in the Alpha series. So now you're going to be able to use the silent shutter feature the way that you would with any other camera with a mechanical shutter, but actually using off-camera flash, which is kind of interesting. I don't know that, I mean, it's kind of cool that it's able to do it, but I'm trying to think, and maybe you guys can let me know in the comment section, how would you actually use that? Because I feel like electronic shutter is like a stealth type of feature. So it makes sense when you're doing, you know, street photography or something of that nature. But I feel like when you're using off-camera flash, you're not stealth anymore because your flash is popping. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting feature. What I was more interested in is that you have a mechanical shutter that syncs up to 1/400th of a second. So now you're entering into what normally would be high-speed sync territory, but you're able to do that using the mechanical shutter without going into high-speed sync. So you don't have any of those drawbacks of reduced flash power. You know, you'll be able to shoot using the mechanical shutter at a much faster, more frames per second, which is something that's really interesting. So I think for me as an off-camera flash shooter, having the flexibility to potentially use off-camera flash with an electronic shutter is very interesting. But more interesting for me is the 1/400th of a second mechanical shutter. I'm going to go back to the comments here, see how you guys are all feeling about this. So yeah, Vicente was asking, what about 1/400th flash sync? I mean, to me, that's it, man. That's the bee's knees. That's where it's at. You know, to be able to be outdoors and have another way to be able to control the ambient light without having to go into high-speed sync. You know, there's going to be some situations where I think that's going to be really interesting to see. Altric was asking, is it a global shutter? It is not. Maybe we'll see that in the near future. Who knows? Let's see. So Logan was saying, I would use this during the first dance, especially since the electronic shutter doesn't have banding issues. Yeah, I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of wedding photographers who, like most of the people that I know that shoot the A9, for example, happen to be wedding photographers. I feel like even though Sony markets it as a, you know, photojournalist or, you know, camera that sports shooters would be using, I think it's actually more relevant for wedding shooters. You know, being able to capture all the things that happen during a wedding. You know, with the A9, it was 20 frames a second. Now with the Alpha 1, you're getting 30 frames a second. Like, that's madness. And then here's the cool thing. So some of you may not even have seen the Xperia announcement and don't really understand why a smartphone is $2,500. But what's really interesting, I think this combination of the Alpha 1 with the Xperia Pro is super interesting for wedding photographers. And the reason is that, think about this, you could actually connect. So let me show you the rig that I have first so that so the madness that's in my mind will hopefully make sense. So if you're a wedding shooter, you could have your Alpha 1 and you could have your Xperia Pro, and you have these devices connected. You could be photographing the wedding as you normally would. You could set up an FTP connection between your Alpha 1 and your Xperia Pro. So you have an FTP server, right? You're taking your photographs. Your photographs could be transferring over to that FTP server. You could have somebody off-site. You could hire somebody, you know, you could outsource it if you wanted to, or have somebody off-site that basically is monitoring that folder as those photos come in. They could be taking those photographs, downloading the full resolution file, making the edits, and literally doing professional same-day edits. But you'll have the wedding photographer that's just there shooting, focusing on the shooting. You'll have somebody off-site who doesn't need to be there, which I think with COVID happening, like, this is more relevant, right? Because you're going to have somebody who's off-site. They could be at home, wherever else, downloading the photos, doing the edits, and then creating a same-day wedding album like this is stuff where, yeah, wedding photographers have been able to do that, but they would have to take the photos, hand off the SD card or the whatever media card they're using, hand it off to somebody. They run over to the computer, plug it in, load up all the files, make the edits. You know, hopefully they're connected to the internet somehow. Here, the shooter is connected to the internet using Xperia Pro. The person is off site, so they're obviously connected to the internet, downloading these off the FTP server. So to me, I mean, the Alpha 1 and the combination of the Alpha 1 with the Xperia Pro is like a wedding photographer's wet dream. You know, being able to charge for a same day album and deliver it in a way that it could be done, but it's just more complicated to do it otherwise. Like this is a big deal, I think, for wedding shooters. So yeah, absolutely. For the first dance and everything else, it's going to make a lot of sense. So let's see. Going through the rest of the comments here. TFP will be good for club shooters and someone printing and doing sales, event photogs. Yeah, I completely agree. Jeff was saying creating a live backup. I guess that could be a way that you could use it. I mean, to me, it almost kind of makes sense to just tether if you have the opportunity to do it. But I guess in a wedding situation, you're not going to be shooting tethered, or an event, you're not going to be shooting tethered. So that kind of makes sense. Let's see. Richard says, "What's up, Miguel? Thanks for all your help with my A7R4. I got everything resolved. You're the man." Thank you. I'm happy to hear it got resolved. So here goes Mr. Manny Ortiz in the house, thinking outside the box, eh? No, you know, I'm telling you, from the people that I know, like my friends that shoot the Alpha 9, like 99% of them are wedding photographers. So I'm hearing and I see the way that they use the camera and the things that they find to be useful and beneficial. And I'm just like, man, I don't know, it makes sense. By the way, Manny, if you want to jump in on the live stream, let me know. Send me a text and I'll send you the link and you can jump on. I was going to message you, but I figured you were probably tired from your stream with the Fro today. Logan says, I heard a rumor that the sensor was curved. Do we know? So that rumor probably was from Sony Alpha Rumors. And then I think I saw Tony Northrup yesterday do a video talking about curved sensors. To my knowledge and from what I saw during the announcement, I don't believe it's a curved sensor. Yeah, I don't think it's a curved sensor. I'm going to double check that. But from what I could see, and from what the picture showed during the announcement, it looks like it's just a standard 50 megapixel sensor. Yeah, I can't tell for sure, but I am jumping on a call in a few hours, and I will make sure to ask that question to see if that's a thing, but I don't believe so. I imagine if they use the curve sensor, that would be like noticeable enough that they would have put that in the announcement, because that's kind of a big deal. Like when and if that happens, I think that will be a pretty big deal. James says, off subject, when you doing the live show again? Yeah, are you talking about the reviews? If you're talking about like the portfolio reviews and the Instagram reviews, I'll do them soon. So I'll let you guys know, because some of you guys who have been subscribers on my channel, which if you are a subscriber, thank you. If you're here for the first time, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, because when the Alpha 1 arrives at my studio, I will be creating content with it. And I promise you that it will be soon. I mean, I've got the Xperia Pro with me right now that just got announced today. So it is highly likely that I will have the Alpha 1 to join the Xperia Pro with me very soon. But so here's the thing. So I had to share a little bit of a backstory with you guys before we continue on. So for the last few months, I don't know if you guys realize this, but I came down, I think late September with pneumonia. And at the time, the doctor was like, hey, we think that you potentially had COVID, but unfortunately, because of the delay between when the symptoms started and when I'm actually sitting at the doctor. They're like, chances are you probably um, you probably had pneumonia and you would test negative, or sorry, you probably had COVID, but you would test negative for it at this point. But pneumonia is the number one symptom of COVID, and that's what you have. So even though I didn't have a fever or body aches or loss of taste or COVID toes, like all this crazy stuff that people get when they get COVID, didn't have any of that. I straight up just had pneumonia. So that was September. Fought through that between September, October. From that point forward, every single month, I had like an upper respiratory infection, sinuses. It basically is like a cold, and then had this like horrible, like crackling sound coming from my lungs. It made my voice weak because I was coughing all the time. It was not fun. Like it was just terrible. So as all of this stuff has been happening, like I've got all this content, I've filmed a bunch of videos that I haven't been able to put out because every time I get in front of the camera and try to talk for more than 5 or 10 minutes, my voice basically just, goes to hell in a handbasket. So that's really the reason why for the last few months I haven't been able to put out the amount of content that I want to be able to put out. So I'm letting you guys all know this for a couple of reasons. Number one, January came around and the symptoms popped back up again. So if my voice sounds a little bit faded, that's why. Like I've been coughing like crazy. The pneumonia symptoms came back, but I feel good. I feel healthy. I feel strong. So thankfully, that's good. Unfortunately, my voice is still not back to 100%, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't want to put out content with my voice not being 100%. Outside of doing these live streams, because it's very informal, we're just talking and we're just chilling. But so I say all of this to tell all of you that it's super important. Listen, I wear a mask all the time. I social distance. I literally go from my house where I'm only there with my wife and son, drop my son off at daycare, which everyone there has a mask. I literally hand him off to somebody for 2 seconds and walk away. We're socially distanced. I'm wearing a mask all throughout. People come to my studio. I'm wearing a mask. We have very limited interaction without a mask. And I still ended up getting pneumonia. So there's stuff about this COVID stuff that we don't know about. So I'm just letting you all know, like, be safe out there. Most of you I've seen are safe and you guys are doing the right thing. But I could tell you that you don't even need to get COVID. You could just end up getting what the doctor just recently told me was called COVID pneumonia, which is what I've been struggling with for the last like 4 or 5 months. You can get that and it sucks. You may not die, right? I'm still alive, thank God, and I'm still able to be here with you guys, but it sucks nonetheless. Like the coughing, the congestion, the headaches, like all of that stuff that comes with it sucks, and I wouldn't wish it on like my worst enemy. So all of that to say, like, please be safe. Don't do stupid stuff. James followed it up with "Want to sound sexy on YouTube." Yeah. This is my sexy Quiet Storm voice. You are now listening to the Quiet Storm with DJ Miguel Quiles. No, I don't think that'll work. May not work. Yeah. And he was saying COVID leaving people with symptoms of smoker's cough. Yeah, I would say, I mean, I'm not a smoker and I've literally never smoked my entire life. Partly because growing up, I had bronchitis, and the other part being that smoking never really made sense to me. If you smoke, that's on you, that's fine. But most of the people that I've known that smoke have horrible breath. Like, I don't know. Like, that's one of the things for me that's like, I'm very sensitive to like smell. And when most of the smokers that I've known that I've talked to just have some stank ass breath that it just bugs the hell out of me. So I apologize if you guys are smokers and you have that stank ass breath. Peace be with you. You know, we got gum. We can work through it. But I just never got into smoking. And but you know, having dealt with this weird COVID pneumonia crap, I could see where like this would suck. Like people who have smoker's cough and, you know, I don't know. Unfortunately, I didn't end up with that really cool smoker's voice that I've heard some actors and actresses get. But yeah, so anyway, um, so yeah, you guys apparently don't care how I sound like, so that's a good thing. That's a decent thing. Anyway, so let's get back to this announcement. So 50 megapixel or 50 megapixel full frame stacked Exmor RS CMOS sensor. So lots of processing power, and this is something that I think that a lot of us here on YouTube and a lot of the big YouTubers that I know and watch their videos, the chatter is always around the sensor, right? We talk, like, for example, Tony Northrup's video, which was a great video, really interesting to watch and kind of hear. It really talks about like the sensor, and we always go back to like, oh, well, this brand uses this sensor, and you know, it's always, the talk is always about the sensor, but I feel like we have to expand the conversation a little bit more than that, because these cameras are more than just the sensor, right? The processor is super important. It's just like, you know, if you have a computer, which these cameras nowadays are just like a computer, your computer processor matters, right? Like Apple with their M1 chip, they had all these other advancements, all these other things that they did with their product, but we're like all like looking at that processor. Oh, the M1 processor is so amazing. But then we go to our cameras and we don't even worry about the processor. We don't even talk about it as YouTubers and content creators. We talk about the sensor. The sensor does this, the sensor does that. But the reality is that that sensor may one day be in another camera body, right? So what differentiates one camera from another if they have the same sensor? And the answer is the processor. The processor is what's actually doing the calculations for the autofocus. It's doing the calculations for everything that the camera is capable of doing. So in this case, you've got an upgraded Bionz XR processor, which, you know, if you watch some of the videos, and I've already started looking at comments and kind of just reading, you know, what people are talking about online, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying, oh, it's like the Alpha 9 and the Alpha 7S3 had a baby and they made the Alpha 1. And the reality is, like, no, this camera is totally different. While it does inherit some of the things from both cameras, it's its own thing, right? It's its own device. So processing wise is a really important thing. It's totally different than those other devices. And because of that, it's able to do some things that those devices don't do, in terms of being able to be, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but if you watch the video of the real-time autofocus, did you guys notice how sticky that autofocus, the eye autofocus and the face tracking was to the person who was on the bike? And I think they had a model who was like, in a studio setting or whatever, and they were showing the eye autofocus, and then they showed it with the animals. Did you guys notice how sticky that box was? That's because of the processor, right? So super important stuff that you have to keep in mind. You know, some of these other cameras from other brands, we're talking about, oh, well, it also has a, you know, 50 megapixel sensor, and that's all good and fine. But if the processor is not advanced and able to really kind of direct what's going on within the camera, then it doesn't matter what kind of sensor it has, right? So keep that in mind when we're looking at these newer cameras and we're looking at the sensors that these things offer. We also have to take account of the fact that it also has a really good processor that is upgraded, in this case, with the Bionz XR. And that's where it allows you to do things like blackout-free 30 frames per second shooting. If you've never used an Alpha 9 before to see what blackout-free shooting looks like, it's weird. Like, straight up, it is weird, because I'm so used to, you know, film and pretty much every other camera that's out there, that when I press the button, the shutter blacks out for a split second. And that's all good and fine for me in the studio when somebody is posing and I'm taking one shot every so often. Where it becomes tricky is when you have a moving subject and you have somebody on a bike or they're running or whatever, and you're trying to not only track the person, but you're also trying to make like an interesting composition. And I know for a lot of people, you're probably thinking, well, at 50 megapixels, the composition be damned, right? Because I just need to get the photo and then I could go and post and I could crop it and orientate the photo to where I have a good composition. And that's true. However, having a blackout free shooting experience is amazing because now you could actually keep your composition the way that you want it and follow and track that subject as they're moving along within the frame and framing it perfectly so that you don't have to crop later on, so that you can have that full size 50 megapixel image. So that's kind of awesome. Having the high refresh rate as well with the electronic viewfinder, it's the world's first 240 frames per second refresh rate on a camera, which I could tell you with the newer cameras, when they were doing 120 frames per second, I felt like that already looked really good. So I could just imagine 240 frames per second. You're like, that's like, almost, to me, it's you're pushing like optical viewfinder territory, but you're getting all the advantages of what an electronic viewfinder will give you, being that you're going to have the live view and being able to see your exposure before you take your photograph. To do that at 240 frames per second in the viewfinder is pretty wicked. I'm going to stop for a second and go back to the comments because we're getting some comments here. So Smart Shot was saying, can you use the Xperia Pro work with any HDMI feed? You should be able to, and I'm going to test this out with some of my other cameras because I've only been using it with my S3. But it has a micro HDMI input. So if you were going to stream, let's say you were going to use the software that I'm using to stream, you should be able to connect any camera as long as it has an HDMI output. And so if it has clean HDMI out, then you're not going to see all the camera settings and all that jazz on screen. And then obviously if it doesn't have clean HDMI out, then you're going to have to deal with, you know, seeing the camera settings and all that stuff like you would see on the back of your camera. So it should work with any HDMI feed. Miguel Reyes was saying, what software are you using to live stream? I'm going to put the link in the description for you guys. I'm using StreamYard. That's what I've been using for the last few months for all of my live streams. Amazing program. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. It's just a really good software. James says it will be in the Nikon camera body. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. You never know. It could appear in other places, but you know, the big thing is that it really doesn't matter whether they put the sensor in another camera body. It matters about the processors, because that is what's going to differentiate one camera from another when they both have comparable sensors. So let's see. Steve-O says it has 120 AF AE per second. I think the original A9 is 60, while the A7R4 is 30. Yeah, so that's the thing, man. These cameras have, again, with this new Bions processor, it's able to calculate things at crazy speeds, right? So how does that benefit you? If you are a sports shooter, or you're an event shooter, a wedding shooter, whatever the case might be, autofocus is always important. But being able to track a subject and be able to rely on the fact that it's actually getting it sharp and in focus is super important. That's a lot of math that the camera is crunching numbers. You have also the fact that the camera is also working with the lens to make sure that the lens is moving the elements to the right position so that you're actually getting something sharp and in focus. So there's just a lot of stuff that's going on, and I'm going to talk about that in a video coming up really soon. But the whole package has to be there. You have to have the fast processor. You have to have the sensor. You have to have a lens that has autofocus motors that are fast enough to hear the commands coming from the processor and take the lens elements and move them to where they need to be to get the shot and sharpen and focus, especially when you're shooting at an f1.8 or an f1.4. That's where it gets really hard. And the fact that a camera is doing all these calculations and is able to do all of these things, I think is going to make for some really good photos. Like at this point, if you start getting photos that are, out of focus, I don't know, man, you can't blame it on the gear. IAF with birds, yeah, crazy. I mean, real-time eye autofocus tracking with birds. 4 or 5 years ago when I started with the system, just getting a human being getting their eye sharpened and focus was a thing. James was asking, do you see 8K being important for the work you do? So here's the thing. I've got the A7S3 or the Alpha 7S3. I got to break the habit because I've been saying that for years. It is the Alpha 7S3. All right. So for the time that I've been using this, I've been shooting most of my content in 4K for the last few years. I had the FS7 Mark II, FS5. Pretty much the entire time I was shooting content in 4K, even if I was posting the content on YouTube in HD, 9 times out of 10, I shoot it in 4K. So with this question, is 8K important for the work that I do? I get by on 4K because I still post a lot of HD content, but I will post more 4K content now that I could do some 8K video. And here's the thing, with 8K, what's really awesome is that, let's say, for example, like this setup would be very similar to what I would use to film what I call a talking head in my YouTube videos. So those videos where, I open up a tutorial and I'm like, hey, my name is Miguel Quiles. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys everything I know about the Xperia Pro, right? This would be the framing. This would be the exact setup that I would use for my YouTube videos. What's really awesome is if I shot this right now in 8K, and let's say I'm delivering this to you guys in HD or I'm delivering it in 4K, I have the ability to basically have multiple shots within one video file. So I could do a really tight close-up shot where maybe like my face is like this and I'm talking to you guys, right? Or I could do one where I'm backed away from the camera, and it's all within that one file. I could just punch into it in post. So I think for me, 8K is great. I will be using that for my talking head portions of my videos because now I have a little bit more flexibility being able to crop the image the way that I see fit. In terms of pricing, the pricing on the camera, I don't think they have it on here, but I believe it was $6,500. Get to the bottom. I'm almost certain it was 65, like 64. Yeah, so $6,500 US, $8,500 in Canada, and it's going to be available in March. So yeah, so that's what we're looking at, $6,500. But keep in mind, this camera is competing with the cameras that other manufacturers are putting out there. And I'm looking at like 1DX Mark III from Canon. I think Nikon, the most recent one, let me know in the comments. I think it's the D6. This is a different category of camera altogether. These are cameras that people who are covering sporting events who need, really fast, really high frames per second and continuous shooting. A lot of these really high-end cameras, they're in that $6,000 price category. But the cool thing is that they don't do what this camera does. If you look at the competition in that price point, you look at the 1DX Mark III, for example, it's not going to give you the type of functionality that you're getting in the Alpha 1. So this is really important to kind of differentiate, because I see the comments about price and people are like, oh, I want it to be cheaper. But the device is competing with other devices in its price category. And if you compare it side by side, the Alpha 1 is an absolute beast. Like it's like a Michael Jordan stepping onto the basketball court at an elementary school and just dunking on little kids. That's what the Alpha 1 right now is doing. It is Michael Jordan at an elementary school playground and just straight up just dunking on people. It's crazy. Absolute madness. Let me see. So going back to the comments here, Manny said, almost done helping my daughter with homework. I'll jump on after if you're still live. Good. Let's do that. Let me know. Richard Acosta, do you think the A7R4 will get a software update for the new IAF tracking, or you think not, probably due to the processor? So the A7R or the Alpha 7R4 already has real-time eye autofocus, not just for stills, but also for video. So I don't think that you're going to see any software updates for that unless it's, you know, improving. I mean, they always make firmware updates and improvements. I don't think that's going to be something, because that's something that is inherent with the faster speeds coming from the updated processor that's in the Alpha 1. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you already have really good eye autofocus tracking. Maybe you're talking about with the animals and stuff like that, which it already does have animal eye autofocus as well. So yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Logan says, so much dollars. Yeah. Yeah, it ain't cheap. But you know, again, it's a matter of compare it with what else is on the market in its price category. So this, obviously, the way that it's being positioned is being positioned to be a competitor to a 1DX Mark III. It's not a competitor to, you know, an R5 or something like that. They're not even in the same weight class, right? It's a whole different category of camera that they're going for here. So yeah, it's expensive. So Logan was saying, what other camera can you do 16-bit raw video? Yeah, that's a good question. Alpha 7S III, if you have a Atomos recorder, if I'm not mistaken, you should be able to do 16-bit raw video. If you have a FX6, if you have an FX9, and you get the whatchamacallit, they have a piece that you have to buy to be able to do that. So yeah, totally. Over HDMI, yeah. There's not many, if any. What's up, Mr. Camera Junkie? How are you? Hamad says, could be Sony's path to compete with mid formats like Phase 1 and Hasselblad. You know, here's the thing. So I don't think that this is something that competes with that, because it's totally different, right? These cameras are completely different than a medium format camera. I will tell you guys from personal experience, prior to jumping over to Sony, so I was shooting with Canon DSLRs at the time. I had a 5D Mark III and a 7D, which was the current bodies that were available from Canon at the time. And before I switched to Sony, I was heavily considering switching over to medium format, being that I'm a studio shooter. I was like, you know, most of the guys that I look up to that shoot studio portraiture, a lot of them shoot medium format. I love the look that I was seeing from their images. So I was very much interested in getting into the whole like medium format game. But here's the thing. If you've ever used a Phase 1 camera or used a Hasselblad, I think that it would take you seconds to realize that if you are familiar with using a mirrorless camera and then you shoot with a medium format, the experience is 1000% different. And I kid you not. I know how to get a shot in focus. I know how to use a camera. I was getting so many missed focus shots when I was shooting with the Phase 1 body that like immediately after testing it out, I went to like their Digital Transitions is the company in New York that does the distribution and stuff and sales for Phase 1 stuff. I went up there, spent the day, played around with a bunch of different camera bodies at the time, and was shocked to see how many of my shots were either soft or just straight up out of focus. And the autofocus performance is what you would expect from film cameras from like 30 years ago. Like you can't even compare the autofocus performance from even, this might blow your mind, But like even from a Sony Alpha 6100, which is like a $600 or $700 camera, would blow away the autofocus performance from a Hasselblad or a Phase One. The ISO performance, most mirrorless cameras will blow away what you're going to get in a Hasselblad. You're not going to get video, right? So to me, medium format is like a one trick type of pony, right? It has a big sensor look, which is beautiful, but the process of arriving at a good photo with a medium format camera is bothersome. It's clunky, right? Versus using something like even an Alpha 7R4, which is, I've got two of them. That's what I use today for most of my work. But yeah, it's like the performance that you're going to get using a mirrorless camera of any kind, performance wise, is going to blow away what you're going to get using a mirrorless or using, sorry, a medium format camera. So to me, I mean, I don't think that it's a matter of competing. I think medium format is still medium format, right? The people who want the medium format experience and feel, you're gonna go with a Phase or a Hasselblad, and you're gonna spend not $6,500. You're gonna spend $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, right? So I don't even know that Sony even sees it as something to compete with, right? Because with the Alpha 7R4, they mentioned that medium format type of look. But yeah, I don't even think that they would see medium format cameras as being something to compete with. It's just kind of its own genre and its own category of photography. And, you know, maybe at some point, you know, they or somebody else will attempt to create a medium format camera that actually has performance akin to what you would get from an Alpha 1, or an even, I would even be happy seeing an Alpha 7 III performance using a medium format camera. Like, but we're not there yet. And if you try it and you test it, I promise you, you will see exactly what I'm seeing, that the performance is not the same. Like they have less autofocus points. Tracking is not even a thing. You know, we're talking like you're going back to the old school, like when you used to shoot film and you used to do focus recompose. Like that's what you're doing with medium format. It's yeah, it's not a thing in my opinion. So let's see. Luckily, everything comes down. Just give it a couple of years. Yeah, I mean, every year, you know, that goes by, the prices of things go down. Performance gets better. That's always been a thing, and I think for most people, that's what's most exciting about the Alpha One is that, you know, granted it's $6,500 today in 2021, but imagine in 2023 what the cameras that follow that, what kind of features they're going to have and what kind of price points they're going to have. Like it's going to be nuts. Filbert says, hoping for a 70 to 200 2.8 G Master update soon to go along with the new camera. I think it's time. I've been hearing this a lot, where people have been saying that they're hoping the 70 to 200 G Master gets an update. I might be in the minority, but I love my 70 to 200 G Master. I feel like performance wise that it gives me the kind of performance that I would want to get. I mean, I'm all for getting better performance. If they happen to, you know, somehow update the camera or update the lens in some sort of way that would make it better, I'm all for that. But as it is today, my personal opinion, I've tried pretty much every 70 to 200 f2.8 lens that's out there from every manufacturer of note that would be worthy to test. And to this point, I've yet to find a 70 to 200 lens 2.8 that gives you results that are as close to a prime lens as I've seen. So that's just been my personal take. I mean, I would be totally cool with seeing an update for any lens if they feel like, you know, if the designers and the engineers feel like they could do something more than what's already been done, heck yeah, like I'm all for that. But to me today, the 70-200 G Master is a beast. Can you gift me iPhone 11 Pro? No, I cannot. I don't like iPhone. See, if you would have asked me for an Android phone, I would have told you maybe I gift you like some old Android phone that I had laying around. But because you said iPhone, the answer is absolutely not, because I don't mess with iPhone. Does it overheat? So we don't know yet. I will be testing the Alpha 1 as soon as it comes in. But I could tell you that when the Alpha 7S3 came out and they were talking about it being able to do 4K 60 and 4K 120 with 422 10-bit color, that was the first question everybody asked. Does it overheat? And I could tell you, I've got my Alpha 7S3. Oh, by the way, I also have the 35 G Master. So if you guys have questions about that, I don't know if you could see that, but look at that. That's crazy. So the eye autofocus is tracking. Let me cover that. There you go. So yeah, I don't know if it's going to focus. I might be too close. Anyway, trust me, that's the 35 G Master right there. But anyway, so they did a really good job with being able to dissipate the heat with the design, with the internals that they're using on the Alpha 7S3. And I assume with the Alpha 1 that it's going to be more of that, especially because of the fact that they're saying, and I'm going to go back to the announcement here, you have 8K 30p 10-bit 420 recording with 8.6K oversampling for extraordinary detail and resolution. And if I remember correctly, and I'm going to get confirmation shortly, but I believe it's a 30-minute time limit for 8K. So if that's the case, I could tell you they've tested it and it doesn't overheat. And of course, if you're in, shooting video in hell, then yeah, it's going to overheat. But I would say the majority of people that are, in normal situations, like I've been with my Alpha 7S3, I've never had the camera overheat. So let's see, just going through the rest of the comments here. There's a lot of you commenting, so I apologize. I'm trying to get through them here. So Logan was saying that he shot phase 1 digital backs, not a super fluid process. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I think the majority of people who like lust over medium format, they're lusting over it because they don't have it and they haven't experienced it, and it's like this romantic thing. But I could tell you that shooting with a medium format camera is not what you would expect it to be, coming from all of the bells and whistles that you get shooting with even something like an Alpha 7 III. Like, the experience is 1,000% different. So, and I think the people who use it, they'll agree with you. It's not a super fluid process. Let's see. The rear screen is bargain basement. Don't know why Sony didn't put a higher resolution screen for their top of the line and most expensive camera. So here's the deal. If you want a higher resolution screen, Xperia Pro, 4K, 10-bit, the only 4K 10-bit external monitor that you can use today. So if you need the ability, and I'm going to cover, there we go, come back to me, autofocus. If you want to have the ability to have a higher resolution screen, by all means, Xperia Pro, that's where you need to be. 16-bit or 14. If I read correctly, raw output is 16. So let me just do a little Control F and put raw. Okay, so we've got 16-bit raw output to an external recorder via HDMI. So there you go. Going back through here. Let's see. Thought. Give me a GFX 100. Yeah, again, GFX 100 falls into that same category that I'm telling you guys. By all means, go to your camera store and if you shoot mirrorless and if you shoot Sony mirrorless, I invite you, please go to a camera store. Tell them to put their fanciest GFX lens on the camera body and see if you could just go out and shoot for like 5 or 10 minutes. I promise you, the experience is not the same. The autofocus is not the same. The frames per second, everything is not the same. 100% different. Wonder if the Alpha 1 will be serviced at Precision Camera in the US. We'll find out. It's definitely going to be, a camera that is supported by Pro Support, and I would imagine it would be Precision and can't think of the other one that's in New York, but I'm pretty sure that it will be supported 100%. Do you know if the bird eye autofocus will be brought to other current cameras? I haven't heard anything about that, and I don't know if there's any limitation in terms of the processing power that's involved to do that. Obviously, the Alpha 1 is the first camera of its kind to be able to do that, and I would venture to guess that that's because of the upgraded Bions processor that's in the Alpha 1. So maybe, I don't know. I mean, I know when they brought out animal eye autofocus on the Alpha 9 or the 2, one of those camera bodies, it eventually made its way into some other camera bodies, but I wouldn't anticipate that anytime soon. So let's see. So Alpha 7R4 plus Alpha 7S3 or Alpha 1. This is the thing that I've been battling. Man, that's a really tough question because, yeah, that's a really tough question. So, I mean, obviously, if you can get everything in one body, the Alpha 1 is going to make sense. For somebody like myself who creates content on YouTube and also shoots in the studio, given everything that the camera is capable of doing, I'm leaning more towards the Alpha 1. But like I have the S3 and I have two R4s. Man, that's tough. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Which would you prefer? I will say that back in the day, I had the Alpha 9, and I think some of my favorite photos that I had ever taken, when I go back and look at the EXIF data, is a weird thing, but it turned out a bunch of them were taken when I was shooting with the Alpha 9 as my primary camera. And that was back when the R3 was my workhorse camera. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm feeling like on paper, it makes sense to go with the Alpha 1 because I get the benefits of 4K 60, 4K 120, just like on the Alpha 7S3, but I do get 8K. And then on the still side, I still have really high resolution because 50 megapixels is nothing to sneeze at. But being able to shoot 1/400th of a second with the mechanical shutter to where I don't have to do high speed sync, that's interesting to me. So, and it's the same body pretty much because I noticed in the writings that it uses the same battery grip that the R4 uses. So I'm going to go out on a limb that the camera body is going to be very similar in size. So yeah, I'm leaning towards the Alpha 1 right now. Let's see, your thoughts on Sony Alpha medium format adapter, medium format glass on your R4. I don't know that I've never done it before. I don't know if it's doable because I've never looked into it, but I haven't found any exceptional glass for medium format that I would actually want to use. I also imagine that there's going to be kind of like when you put a APS-C lens on a full frame camera that you get vignetting, because the medium format sensor is bigger, I would venture to guess that if you adapted a medium format lens to a Sony camera body, that you're going to have some vignetting happening. So yeah, I don't know. In theory, I don't know how that would work, and I don't know if that's going to be a thing. So hang tight really quick. You guys keep sounding off in the comments here. I'm going to do something here really quickly. Let's see. So Manny says he's ready to jump on this stream. So I'm going to see if I can message the link. The joys of streaming live. All right, so Manny, check your Facebook Messenger in like 2 seconds. Here we go. All right. Cool. All right. So, Manny, I sent you the link. Come in when you're ready. Let's see. Going back to the comments here. Okay, so I think I talked about this already. Am I getting one or sticking with the R4? I mean, I'm definitely going to try it out because I should be getting the Alpha one hopefully soon, like within the next week or so. Because I don't know if you guys realize this, but if you guys enjoy the content that I put out here on my YouTube channel, I also produce content monthly for Sony's, like the actual Sony YouTube channel, which is Alpha Universe. So if you guys want to get more like Sony direct, related content, I create content for them. And so because of that, like I have the 35G Master, I got that before the announcement. I created the video for them. And I believe I put out a video on my channel for it as well. But so I'm anticipating getting it. And once I get it and I play around with it, I'll kind of make a determination then. But I can say on paper, like I'm super interested. I'm super interested. When I'll get my hands on it, I don't know. I'm hoping I'll get on a phone call later today and find out when I could get it. I would take two bodies over that one that can cover both. Yeah, I mean, I've always been of the opinion, like that's why I have two R4s. One of them I use for, shooting my videos and stuff like that. One I use for, obviously doing my stills work. At the time when the Alpha 9 came out, I actually just used that for everything. But I don't know. Who's to say I wouldn't get two Alpha 1s? Be super gangster, Let's see. I thought about, but the Alpha or the IAF on Sony is a dream. Okay, so you guys were talking about the Nikon or the Nikon. Let's see. I haven't read much about the Alpha 1, but have they mentioned any limitation on the 8K feature? I'm going to get some answers for you guys on this, but as far as I understand, it's a 30-minute limit. So, and that it's 420. It's not 422 10-bit, because I would imagine 422 10-bit 8K 30p video would probably light some forests on fire. Let's see. So is this the one that will rule them all and corrupt your soul in the process? Maybe. But then again, I mean, when the Alpha 9 came out, I thought that would be it. And it didn't turn out to be the case. So, the R3 still had life. The R4 still had life. Obviously the S3. So I don't know. I think it's different strokes for different folks, different cameras for different folks. So, there's something in there for everyone. Let's see. Alvin says, I'm more into wildlife and was hoping for the A9 III. I currently own an Alpha 7R4. I would probably upgrade as I like the dual CF card flexibility. So here's the thing. I'm really curious, and maybe you guys can let me know what you think. I'm of the opinion, like, I don't know that the Alpha 9 is going to be a thing anymore. I mean, to me, the Alpha 1 seems like a great replacement. So, yeah, I don't know. That's going to be an interesting thing. So let's see. Hang on here. Look who we have here.
Hey, hey.
Hey, what's up?
What's up? Go on.
I'll tell you
Keep
this
talking.
earlier.
I'll add on.
How come your video is so washed out?
Which one? This one?
Yeah. What are you using for your camera?
I'm using the right now the S3, but I've got
Do you
a
have your picture
window.
profiles on?
Nah, I got it all on standard. So
yeah, because I noticed that on your stream from earlier. I watched you had like a 5,000 people or something on your live stream for the announcement.
yeah,
Your colors. I'm like, yo, what happened to this dude's colors, dude? You washed out.
it's all good.
It don't even matter.
Nah, it don't even matter.
So what was your opinion? What did you think about all of this Alpha 1 and the Xperia Pro? What are your thoughts on it?
So you know how it is when you watch it, it hypes you up, and I'm like, I'm just like super hyped. But then when everything kind of calmed down and I started to like really think rationally here, because there were some omissions that, you know, some key things about the camera that don't make it as perfect as they, you know, as it comes off, right? I still think it's probably the inspect, and it beats everything out there in specs, yep. Right? But at the end of the day, there's nothing about this camera that cannibalizes other cameras like the R5. The R5 can hold its own, right? It can hold its own, but this camera is obviously, it's not for most people. And yeah. it's just not. Like, if you can't afford the camera, it's probably not for you. The people that can buy this camera, that can justify it, it's for them. You check, you know, like photojournalism, or people that shoot really fast stuff, that print big, like, it's perfect for you. But it's not for most people. It's almost, I agree. Yeah.
Xperia Pro was the same way. You know, I think both today's announcements, both devices are not for most people, right? It's for those people like me, who like geek out on the highest of the highest tech, you know, like this camera is for me. And I think it's for a lot of people out there, the tech enthusiasts that are out there. I think anybody who was interested in an Alpha 9 over the last few years is going to look at the Alpha 1 and be like, that's my camera. You know, I think for the hybrid shooters that are out there, let's say for people like me, like I got an Alpha 7S3 and I got the R4, you know, we're talking 3,200 plus 3,500 bucks, or I could just buy one camera that does everything and then some. Like, it does everything that both cameras do really well, plus 8K30, plus 1/400th of a second sync, plus, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot to it. What were your thoughts on the Xperia Pro? Did you see the announcement and see like what that was about?
You talking about the phone?
Yeah,
bro. To be honest, I didn't pay not one mind to the phone. I just saw it connected to the. I paid no mind to it. I think I had like a mental block on the phone. Yeah, no, I'm good, bro. I'm all Apple. Nope.
Think about
I'm good. I'm good.
Think about this for a second. I'm gonna sell you on this thing. Listen, you could be out on location, right? You could have your little camera rig, which, you know, you got your little rig with your little Atomos recorder, right? You could have your camera rig, take your Xperia Pro, set that sucker on there, jump onto StreamYard, Streamlabs. Let me cover up her face again. There you go. Go on to Streamlabs, StreamYard, whatever streaming, whatever it is you want to use, and you can live stream your photo shoots connected to 5G. Like, I'm pretty sure I watched somebody who had a Verizon hotspot. Who was that? But anyway, you could do that with your phone, like, all the time. Like, imagine, you know how many people you could say, listen, I'm going to give you exclusive access to my photo shoot. $40 to access your class. And you literally just go about doing your photo shoot, live streaming it privately, pay for access, and you pay for the phone.
All right, so I want to see you do that then, because in theory it sounds good, but in practice, I am the biggest Apple fanboy you will ever see, and there's nothing that will take me away from Apple. And let me tell you something. Hold on, no, my turn. You're missing out because you're shooting with your A7S3s, right? And you're probably doing proxies, or you need like the biggest computer in the world to play them. I don't want to hear it.
That
M1 13-inch integrated graphics, and I chew through 10-bit 422 A7S3 footage like no tomorrow, like no problem at all. And
Dude,
this has changed my
FX9.
workflow more than anything else. So
Man, you
tell me
guys
on
with
that one.
Apple stuff, man. That Kool-Aid is strong. That Kool-Aid is some
It
strong
works.
stuff.
It really works. But you know, that's a whole nother story. But no, honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to the cell phone stuff. I was trying to take in the camera, and
Yeah,
I'm thinking
it was a lot.
about, yeah, it's a lot. It definitely is. But you know, I was I was geeked. But now I kind of see, you know, where, you know, how people are saying the A7S III. I was saying, oh, well, it's got the specs of an A7S III, but it's obviously not going to give you the same output because the sensors are different. You know, the A7S III is going to give you better 4K. It's just more optimized for that format. So it's not apples to apples, but you know, there's different kinds of people, right? There's people like me that love to have different cameras. Oh, my nails are pink. My daughter painted my daughter painted my fingernails.
Hey, it's okay
So
if you like pink fingernails on my
yeah.
you do you, boo boo.
There's people like me that want two cameras. Like I have two A7S IIIs,
Yep.
and I like to have a camera that's more for photos. So this camera it's not a big deal that it doesn't have a flip screen, but there's people that want everything in one camera.
Right.
And this is that kind of camera because you know, it's $6,000, but I think you can do everything. It just doesn't have the flip screen. At that point, we're just nitpicking.
Yeah.
It's already you know, the 30 frames per second is almost kind of mind-boggling, but at the same time, I wish they would have increased that mechanical to like 15.
Right.
You know, just it's just a small bump.
Let me ask you this, because you shoot or you've shot with the R5. Does the viewfinder black out when you shoot continuous?
On what?
On the R5?
No, I think electronically it does 20 frames. I don't think it blacks out.
Okay. Test it out because I'm kind of curious to see. But here's one thing too that I don't know if you've considered this, because we were talking about the video with the S3 and the Alpha 1. They actually are not the same because you have the S Cinetone color, which came from the FX9 and
Oh, wait, I missed that.
Big deal.
I missed that one.
Big deal. Let me see it up. So you get S Cinetone.
That's a big deal.
Which is a pretty big thing.
That's cinema camera stuff for sure.
Yeah, so S Cinetone color matrix as seen in the FX9 and FX6 to deliver expressive cinematic look. So yes.
Oh well, there goes that.
Epic fail. Maybe somebody who has an R5 can comment in the comments. Does the viewfinder black out when you're shooting continuous? Because I'm very curious to see that. I have not shot continuous to see if that is a thing. Some of the people here commenting, Apple just works until it doesn't, and you have to bring it back to them. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? A few years ago, I think it was like 2016. Because you know Chewy, right? Chewy's a big Apple fanboy, my videographer over the years. And so finally I was like, you know what? I need to buy a new laptop. I bought the top of the line MacBook Pro, right? And the funny thing is, if you watch my Creative Live class, I had that MacBook Pro and you could tell I had no idea what the hell I was doing. Cause like, I'm telling people like, oh, the shortcut is this squiggle key and F at the same time. I don't know what that means. And, you know, they're telling me off camera, it's, you know, Command Shift or whatever. So anyway, I bought it and I still had problems with editing, with Photoshop, with Premiere, with all that stuff. It still was just as slow. I still ran into the same issues. You get that little spinning wheel in the middle. And so I was just like, man, it's more of the same. And at the very least with PC, I can still play my video games when I want to. You know, I have Android compatibility. So that whole thing just works for me, man. It just works. I'm just saying.
Well, when you touch the M1 and your A7S files, your world will turn upside down. That you can have a laptop this small that can handle that codec with just like it just breezes through it, man. And like that's why my workflow has improved so much, because I'm able to edit that high quality, and then I shoot it at 1080 timeline. I'm able to crop in and out. It's like I have a bunch of different cameras in my studio. It's actually amazing. But yeah, that's a whole nother story.
So let me ask you this with let me get rid of this little search thing here. So somebody was asking me earlier if I plan on using the Alpha One to do like YouTube content, and we're asking like what the benefits would be. Uh, you've got the R5. Do you see yourself using an Alpha One for your YouTube content creation? And if so, how would it be made better or worse or whatever?
Well, you're asking a person that has two A7S3s. It's really hard for me to integrate a camera like that, which there is no need. But if I got the camera, it'd be for photography. Could I integrate it? Hell yeah, I can. It's got everything you need, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not, but I'm not buying it for that, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not buying it for that. But it could.
Video games? What games? Now we're talking.
Hell yeah. Let's get it.
So, I mean, I play Call of Duty. I play, I'm really big into playing Magic the Gathering, if I'm being honest. I probably play like way too much Magic the Gathering. But yeah, I play Gears of War. I know Manny, you still play 2K?
I play 2K. That's my game. I know it's kind of the community's kind of dead right now, but I play NBA 2K. I'm on next gen right now on PS5.
Yeah, you got the PS5, right?
Yeah, I'm addicted to it.
Dude, I couldn't get a PS5, and so I bought the new Xbox for $750. Had to get it off of some bootlegger, but yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get my hands on a PS5. But honestly, I'm not seeing any like exclusive games or anything on the PS5 that I would really want to jump over to. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Porsche Junkies, he said that the R5 has no blackout. He just tested it.
Okay. I was going to say, I would imagine that it wouldn't, but I do think that having that no blackout when you're shooting at 30 frames per second is kind of sick. Like it's going to be nuts. Which, by the way, as a side thing, are you doing New York next month?
I'm still up in the air.
Right.
It's still up in the air. I want to, but you know how it is right now.
We need to bring that ball down to Earth soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm making moves. And,
we got to. And then if we both have the A1 by then, that'll be sick.
Yeah, that would be. And it's highly probable that we will have it. So, you know, that's gonna be fun. All the pieces are in place. I got Chewy ready to go. I got my makeup artist ready to go. I got my models who have appeared in my videos in the past ready to go. So you know, we can make some stuff happen here. I didn't read this comment, but I just saw that they need big help. I'm trying to buy my first Sony camera. I'm stuck between R4, S3, or the 3. Help me, please. So you got to let us know what you're using the camera for. Oh, well, he already followed up with that.
What did he say?
Portrait.
He says portrait?
Yep. So what do you think?
Well, I'd have to know a little bit more. What kind of portraits? Like casual walk around portraits? Who are you shooting for? Are you know, it all depends. I'll tell you this much. I shoot for YouTube, so I don't really need the most resolution, and that it is what it is. I can live with my A7 III and be fine. Do I want to use it every time? Lately, no, because I'm too spoiled with all these other cameras with these big electronic viewfinders that I kind of want to use these cameras. But you can get away with the A7 III. It's still such a powerful camera. And if you're asking what camera you should buy for portrait, chances are you should just get the A7 III and dish out some money on some decent lenses. You're gonna be good.
Yeah, I'm pretty much of the same opinion. I mean, if you're using it for portraits, unless you have some specific need, like, you know, you're printing a picture the size of a skyscraper, then you probably want to go with an R4. You know, if you're a hybrid shooter, I would still say go with the R4, because I think one of the things that I don't know if you've tried this before, Manny, but I've shot videos where I use the FX9 as my main camera and I'm shooting in 4K. And then I'll take my R4 and I'll actually shoot HD at 60 frames and I just upscale it in Premiere. You couldn't tell the difference. Like I've never had anybody look and be like, "Oh wow, why your video doesn't look good in slow-mo." Like you can upscale HD 60 frames per second footage and it still looks good. So maybe even still, I would say D7 III is a good choice. But it's all about the budget, man. If it's between an R4 and some like off-brand lens versus like a 7 III with like a 135 G Master or something like that, I'm going. You know, the glass is really what it's so, just my opinion.
Yeah, solid.
Let's see.
What other questions we got?
Looking through. Somebody wants to know your M1.
Oh, yeah, I messaged, I put it in the comments, 16 gig, 1 terabyte SSD. It has been the biggest the biggest upgrade in my workflow. Other than getting the A7S III for my videos, using the M1 with the A7S III files, it makes my iMac Pro just obsolete at this point. It really is. And I'm literally about to get a Mac Mini just to replace this $5,000 beast, because with the A7S III and Final Cut and even Photoshop with the update, it is next level.
I don't know, man. I'm every single time that a new Apple product comes out, I hear the same thing from Apple users.
Miguel,
I'm a little bit skeptical.
Miguel, I got this computer when it first came out. I have stress tested it. I'll tell you right now, in the beginning, the fan never went on. I was like, oh, the fan doesn't even go on. Now the fan does turn on. It does get a little hotter now because I use it every single day. I'm rendering big files, pushing it to the limit. But dude, I'm still getting like 15 hours of battery on a single charge, and it's just been amazing. I haven't talked about it on the channel because people don't come to me for laptop stuff, and a lot of the times I'll misspeak about something because you know how it is. You get one thing wrong, they come for you.
Oh, of course.
But the user experience, this laptop has changed my entire workflow. With the A7, with the Sony A7S III codec and high-end video files. But that Cinetone, I didn't even know it had Cinetone. That's a game changer, man, because everyone loves that as Cinetone. So that's gonna be really nice. But I'm still gonna go to the A7S III for video, even if I get the A1.
So let me ask you this, because you shoot off-camera flash, right? Is it a big deal for you that you can sync your flash to 1/400th of a second with a mechanical shutter?
It is. I'm surprised that it took this long to do it. You know, because you're able to utilize the flash the way it's supposed to be used, not high-speed sync and or stressing out your flash getting slower recycle time. The faster you shoot, you're able to shoot up until that point. Use the flashes as it was supposed to be used, and that's great. One thing that enticed me though, when he said you can use the flash with electronic shutter, I was wondering what the limitations are, and I think it's actually not that high, right? But what it'll allow you to do is that, let's say you're indoor in the studio, which you don't have to shoot higher than 1/200 if that's not your, if you're gonna shoot at a closed, a smaller aperture.
Yep.
If you want to shoot silent, you can. I would think that in the studio wouldn't matter. I actually like them to hear the shutter, but in a place where it does matter. To have that option is amazing.
I want the option to have a custom shutter sound. That's what I want. I want it to where, like, when I shoot, that I can change the sound of the shutter to like a chicken clucking, because I think that would be funny as hell. Because literally every picture you take is like.
So think about that. Now that would be great for people that shoot children. That's a built-in feature that would just. And then cracking up, and then you get them cracking up, and it'll be amazing. Dude, that was actually
that's what I want.
That's the best thing you said off stream.
I'm sometimes I drop gems like that. Sony engineers get to work on it ASAP. Absolutely ridiculous.
So bad.
Let's see. Photo Me Ike in the house said he was just watching you in Fro. So yeah, he's working overtime. Today is one of those days where I think there's going to be a lot of YouTubers that are working overtime.
Hey, I'm not even sweating it, Miguel. I'm not sweating it.
No?
Usually I'm sweating. All right, I'm sweating trying to get a video out. I'm not even sweating it, man. 2021 is my year of mental health.
That's good.
I'm chilling. If today is my day, what's that?
I said I'm glad you weren't sweating. I was sweating my face off. I had 4 videos that I had to put out for the Xperia Pro.
Oh yeah, you were sweating.
Yeah, part of the live stream for the announcement.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but so what Photo Mia said about the comments, yeah, they were not everybody can handle Jared. You guys got to understand. I know Jared on a personal level, and he might come off he may come off like, you know, a way to you that makes him seem like he's a jerk, but he's really not. He really isn't. It's almost like his charm, and I just crack up at it. You just got to laugh at it. You know, he's really like a character. He's hilarious. Yeah, I think people take him way too serious, you know, but he's actually really cool people. And like, I talk to him almost every day. We talk almost every single day. So
it's crazy. I mean, the times that I've met him, he's always been cool. You know, I could tell, and it's very similar to like the comments that I heard back in the day about Tony Northrup. You know, people are always like, oh man, you know, he's this, he's that.
The sweetest guy alive.
Dude is the nicest guy that I've like, he's up there. In terms of the nicest people that I met in the business,
he is the sweetest guy.
And the sweetest guy, you know, but like you watch a person on YouTube and you see their personality. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is that it's really hard for you to express yourself and be yourself when you have a camera in front of you and there's not a person there. You know, I feel like almost like I don't know. It's a different thing, you know, and I've even had to battle this. I mean, you've been putting out content like crazy over the years, and I feel like you've settled into your personality. But like for me, I have a hard time trying to figure out like how do I want to present myself on camera, you know, because if I wanted to be truly be myself, dude, I mean, you know, like behind closed doors, like I'm a huge nerd. You know, I say and do very silly things. I like to poke fun, you know, but at the same time, I know that if I put that in front of people on a video or a live stream, you know, or maybe doing something like what Fro is doing, where he just likes to be contrarian to everything just for the sake of doing it, because he knows it riles people up. You know, I don't know. I feel like I've met Jared. He's a nice guy. He definitely has a personality where, you know, you kind of can't take him super serious. You know what I mean? Because if you do, maybe you'll get offended. But I also feel like maybe it's a like New York thing. You know, it's like a northern thing. Like people from the South will never understand when someone is like very straight and direct and, you know, says something, it offends them. Meanwhile, in New York, you live up north, Boston, people talk a certain type of way to people and no one thinks different. You know, you can still break bread with them.
Yeah. Well, if people really knew me in real life, they'll be like, "Man, you're boring," because I'm such an introvert. I'm such a like I barely even like I have a handful of friends. Period. I don't get out much. Diana's the extrovert. You see, the introverts and extroverts. Diana's the one that goes out. I'm usually a homebody. I'm either gaming, working, or chilling. Like,
yep.
So, yeah.
You and me both. And I think that's why we get along, because I'm pretty much the same way. Like I'm not that guy that needs to be partying and be around a bunch of people. If any of you guys have ever run into me at like a conference or anything like that, you know, I'm not the guy that's walking around with the entourage or anything. You know, I'm not the one that's starving for attention. Like I'm the one that's hanging out in the shadows, quiet, you know.
You're extra with it though. You're extra with it because sometimes I have FOMO. I have the fear of missing out. So if something's going on, hey, I need to be there, see what's going on. You're literally like head down. I'm headed to the room.
Yep.
Yeah, you're a little too much with it though.
That's just the way it is, you know. That's how I keep my my sanity, right?
Yeah.
So Devin has an interesting question. Think Sony 50mm G Master coming soon?
Wait, what is it?
He was asking, do you think Sony 50 GM is coming?
Oh, that lens is overdue. If I had a couple lenses that are overdue, that a 50 GM is definitely overdue. Even though even though I don't use 50 a lot, it's definitely overdue. I don't think they even have I don't think they even made a high quality, even a regular one. Yeah, the Sony Zeiss, but yeah, that's, it's a great lens. It's just outdated. There's nothing new, but is it? Yeah, I don't know.
I think the question the way that I'm reading it, coming soon, I think, who knows, right? We know when we know. But I think that it's entirely possible that it's something that's going to happen. I mean, you've got the 35 G Master, which is a beast. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see G Master lenses in the future that cover all of the big focal lengths that people use. They got the 24, they got the 35, they got 85, 135. So, I mean, what other prime lens focal lengths are out there that haven't been covered? The 50 is probably the biggest.
My big thing is, when is Sony gonna make the 1.2 glass, and is even possible? That's what I want to know.
I mean, it's entirely possible. You've got lenses faster than that.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking with AF for that mount.
Yeah,
that's what I feel like. I feel like if they've been able to, I feel like they should at least release 1.2 option. Because Canon, that's one thing I love about the R5. And when I use that 85 1.2, it's just, having that option. It's really nice. I want Sony to release at least 185 1.2. I have the 50 1.2 for Nikon. And this thing is, okay, I left it at the studio. But it's massive.
Yeah,
huge. Like it feels like you have a 70 to 200. Like it's huge, but it's a 50 millimeter. Like, it shouldn't have to be that big, to be honest. But I wish Sony would just release 1.2 lens.
That's where I think the genius in the 35 G Master is at. To have a lens of that quality, and it's just a little bit bigger than the 24 GM. I mean, to me, that's where it's at. Like, I want to see a 50 G Master that's in that same, lock and step, where it's smaller than, the rest of the 1.4 options that are out there. That's what I really want to see.
Hey, this is something that I've been wanting to talk about, and I don't care what anybody says, because this is something that I love. Okay, so see the R5. Okay, it's obviously out of battery. It's a dead. Yeah. So this is the thing. One thing that matters to me a lot is that, especially when you shoot with people, when you show them the back of the screen, how sometimes, like cameras with a lower quality rear screen, that image is going to look better on the computer than what it looks like here. So they don't get the full effect. For some reason, the Canon R5 has such a big, beautiful screen, and the Nikon Z6 has one as well. They're better than the Sonys in terms of, when you look at the image in back of the screen, you show someone, it almost looks better on the screen than it does on a computer. It just does something to the colors. It looks magical. I'm like, and having this screen, being able to look at my own images, I'm like, ooh, and then I could show them and be proud of it, and they get the full effect. They're like, whoa, that actually means something to me. That's why part of the reason why I've been using the R5 for my photography is, well, also the big EVF, but I love having a high quality screen so I could show someone and they're like, whoa, like the best representation. I love to see their face. That's the thing with me. I love to wow someone. So,
yeah.
But yeah, honestly, I've been fiending for a new Sony camera, and the A1 may be overkill for me, but I'm fiending. I don't care. I'm pre-ordering. I'm like a crackhead right now, looking for a new Sony camera. I want the updated ergonomics. And it also, did you see you can't shoot medium raw, but you can shoot HEIF, right?
Yeah.
Raw.
They have a new lossless compressed RAW, which I'm really interested to see. I think you're going to be on the call later today.
I already got my call.
So then I think mine is a little bit later. I mean, that's what I want to know. Did you get any clarification on that? What the difference was?
when I was on the call, I was helping her with her work. But I did catch a lot of those tidbits of the camera not having an overheating issue, which was something that I'm like, here we go. We're gonna get the whole carousel of YouTube videos. Does it overheat in 8K and stuff? And they were talking about that this thing that has unlimited recording in 4K 120, I believe, like the A7S. That blew me away, you know. But we'll see with the 8K. You can't shoot 422 in 8K though.
No, 420. But, but still. I mean, that's still good. You know what I mean? Like that's still with everything else that it brings to the table, looking at the overall package, like that's still really, really good. And yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying with the screen being a thing. You know, I guess for me, the way that I do things, I do it a little bit differently because you know, I shoot tethered so much. So to me, like I would go and walk somebody over to my computer monitor and show them on my 4K 10-bit display that I have on my HP. But yeah, that's, I mean, like I say, that's just me. Photomiac said Sony had the same low quality screens when they had the old school crappy battery life. No excuse, Charlie. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the screen on the Alpha 1 yet, so I'm gonna hold back my judgment on it. But
the S3 is better.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see for sure.
The screen on the S3 is better, and this is definitely up to my standard of what I would want my image to look like. When I show someone, the S3 definitely has it, and the EVF is out of this world. It looks better than real life. It makes real life look dull because this EVF is so freaking good.
Makes real life look like your video right now coming from your feed.
Well, stop hating. I got that S-Log look right now. You know, there's a certain aesthetic, right?
Look at your colors and look at mine, and we're on the same camera.
This is a filmmaker aesthetic. Okay,
that's what it is. That's what it is.
And so, also, I just confirmed my A1 is on his way.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. So this was something I'm putting up this question, and I'm going to follow up with a comment that you made asking about the grip for the Alpha 1. It's the same grip that the Alpha 9 II, the S3, and the R4 uses. It's the same exact battery grip. So that means to me, the body is going to be the same as what you're seeing in the Alpha 9 II, more than likely. But you mentioned the ergonomics and the grip. And I know you were shooting with the R3 for the longest time. And I've been telling you, I'm like, bro, the R4 ergonomics are like amazing. And now you got an S3, which has the same ergonomics that the R4 has. Do you notice the difference in terms of like, without the battery grip, just straight up camera body for camera body? Do you see the difference between the S3 camera body and the R3?
All right, so this is, again, reference back to the R5 because I love this camera. I love the ergonomics of the R5. I also love the ergonomics of the Nikon Z cameras. And on that same playing field, the S3, the A7R4 ergonomics are right on par with those. So I love them all kind of the same. And that's why I'm like, I'm fiending for a photography camera that's not 60 megapixels. I guess 50 is going to have to do, I guess, whatever. But yeah, I think that the ergonomics of the Sony, the new Sonys, is just right on par with the other ones. And that's just me being, you know, no fanboy of anything. That's just what it is, at least for me. So.
And are you seeing, like, do you think that that's a big enough thing? Like, let's say you're talking to Manny who has the R3 and he's asking you about the R4. Just based off the ergonomics alone, do you think the ergonomics are like a big enough deal to consider it as an upgrade?
The R3 and the R4? It just by ergonomics. I think it's, you don't know what you're missing if you don't have it, right? You don't know what you're missing. So I think that if you just have an A7 III, A7R III, you're going to be fine because you don't know what you're missing. But when you have everything and you have access to everything, basically, you start to notice the difference. It's a big difference in terms of ergonomics for me. The buttons, not only the buttons, but the way the camera feels in a hand I'm not always feeling like I'm holding it at the tip of my finger sometimes. You know, it feels in my hand this time. And while the body not increasing that much, the EVF alone, it makes it worth it to me. Having the bigger EVF
better on the Alpha One. Like I don't know how to process that.
I thought it was the same 9.3 or something like that.
Oh, you got 240 frame per second refresh rate on the Alpha One.
See, that's just it's going to look better than real life, you know, because this one already, I'd rather look at my life through here than
I think it's
my eyes. It looks so good. Yep. So good.
So Devin was saying, when y'all getting on Clubhouse so I can join the conversation, I've already been on Clubhouse. There's a certain old fart who, I don't know if you've finally been on it or not, but
yeah, I've been on it a couple of times.
What do you think?
I love when you find a group that you're interested in. It's actually really cool because you can connect with people that you would never be able to connect with, like Daniel Schiffer. Yep. Daniel Schiffer. I went into one of his groups, and then right away he noticed it. Like, he's like, "Oh yeah, Manny, let me bring him on." I was like, oh, "He knows who I am." You know, like this is like, this dude is it's just on a whole nother level. He invited me to be a speaker. You know, I talked to him a little bit, and then I dipped after that. But yeah, I love it. I love being able to have access to people, and then those groups that apply to you. You can get so much knowledge by just throwing an AirPod in here while doing your chores. It's almost like a podcast. Like, and you get to pick their mind, and I love it.
Bro, Daniel Schiffer is great. Love his content. But I will say, I was in Clubhouse rooms with Grant Cardone, who I don't know if you've read his books, 10X Rule, but like Grant Cardone is in the room. Dr. Mike, who's on YouTube, he's got millions of subscribers. He's in the room. The guy from Legal Eagle, I don't know what his name is, but it's an attorney, big YouTube channel. Lil Mama, the rap artist who's done music with Chris Brown, she's been in a room. Like I've been in Clubhouse rooms with people like super famous, you know, people that and you're in the same room with them and you get the opportunity to talk to them, ask questions, whatever else. Right now, to me, man, I think Clubhouse is like, I don't know. I mean, to me, I think it's the future because it's doing something that a lot of other social media sites aren't doing, which is unfortunate, which is that it gives you the opportunity to actually talk to people with your voice, like not typing, being a keyboard warrior, you know, talking a bunch of junk, you know, but actually getting on there and talking to people and hearing them and, you know, having conversation, which I think like, you know, it's funny to me because, you know, I'm very much an introvert, but I know how to get by. But like you'll see and you'll hear people in this on the Clubhouse app that it's like they don't know how to talk to people. You know, they're just sitting there like they're not saying anything, and it's so interesting to see. You know, and so I'm hoping that maybe this is just a pipe dream, but maybe with this Clubhouse app as it gets more, you know, it opens up for everybody to be able to join. I'm hoping that it helps people actually be more social. You know. I don't know.
I have a lot of feelings about Clubhouse, and I feel like even for my like mental health for social media in the long term, this is the kind of thing that will make you feel better and more inspired than going on Instagram, you know, and only seeing people's highlights. Like just being able to not to see content that's not curated, you know, and just see people in their raw form. And humanizing people, you know, instead of looking at them like there's some kind of god on Instagram, like humanizing them, you get to see that they're just a person. And I don't know, I like it. I like that access. And even to me, I may be a big creator on YouTube, but at the end of the day, I have a lot of people that I look up to. When I see them on Clubhouse, like I be fanboying, you know, and I'm like, wow, he's human. Oh yeah, he's pretty cool. Like, and but yeah, I dig it.
Yeah, Fotomiek was saying that he became a big fan of Ty Lopez after hearing him talk on Clubhouse. Do you ever watch any of Ty Lopez's stuff on YouTube?
I never heard of him, but I'm gonna have to look him up now.
See, now that I said the word, you're gonna start getting Ty Lopez ads on your YouTube, where he's gonna say, "I'm here in the garage with a
Hmm.
Lamborghini, but that's not important. Look at all these books I got. I love knowledge." Like that's that guy. You're gonna start seeing his ads. But yeah, there's a lot of people like that. Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, a lot of like what's his face from Shark Tank? The
I don't
guy
know his name.
the guy who made Fubu,
Hmm.
Damon John. He was in there. I mean, you got people like heavy hitters that are, on Clubhouse. Angel was asking, "What's Clubhouse?" So go into the if you, this. Okay, so as much as I was knocking Apple, all right, Clubhouse right now is a Apple only thing, unfortunately. So Android people go buy an iPad or something, which is what I did. But Clubhouse basically is an app where you join these rooms, and it's like a big, like chat room, but like a real chat room where people are talking through their phone or iPad or wherever else. And so you have like multiple levels in the room. So you have your moderator, who's usually the person that starts the room, and then they bring up speakers, which are people that can actually talk back and forth so everyone can hear. And then you have friends of the speaker. So if the speakers who are talking are friends with somebody and they pop into the room, they show up a little bit above the rest of the group, which is just people who are there who could just listen. And it's really cool. Like it's really cool. I'm digging it. I spent like the first couple of days that I installed it, I literally one night, I think I went to bed at like 3 in the morning because I was just in one of these rooms and there was so much gold being spread in the room. And I'm just like, yo, I can't go to sleep because I feel like I'm gonna miss out, you know? So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll start up a room one day with you if you want. But
yeah,
um, you wanna? Is there anything else that you want to talk about in terms of the new camera
yeah.
or?
I think I think that we rocked the majority of it. I was going through some of these things trying to think of like, what stones have been left unturned, but I feel like we pretty much covered it all well and good. So if you guys have any other questions, definitely leave them in the comments. And later on, I'm sure Manny just said his is on the way. I need to jump on the phone and figure out where the heck mine is at, so that I can figure out what I'm going to do. And we'll refer back to the comments because I know Manny does that all the time. I look at my comments and try to figure out what y'all want to know about the device, and try to make sure that it's included. So we'll catch up soon on the Clubhouse stuff too, because I think that could be a lot of fun. So at any rate, Mr. Manny, thank you for joining in, and
Thanks for having me.
seriously get to thinking about this New York thing because I'm already moving on it.
I know,
So
man. It's the one thing that's holding me back is like my mother-in-law lives here,
yeah,
and I'm trying to, although I'm dying to go. I'm dying. It's just I'm trying to trying to weigh out those options.
yeah,
And but dude, I'm dying to get out of here, go to New York again. So
dude. Even if it's just for like 2 days, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
we'll get there and
yeah. I gotta make this decision like ASAP for sure.
we'll
I
have
got
the
you.
models, we'll have the makeup artist, we'll have
Yeah,
Chewy. You
yeah.
know,
All right.
it's gonna be worthwhile. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. All
So,
right.
all right, man. I'll catch you later.
All right. People in the chat, thanks for hanging out with us. I know we're not very extravagant right now,
Nah, especially
but
you with your S-Log color.
yeah, no, man, dude. I'm gonna put saturation all the way, contrast
Yeah,
all the
dude,
way.
you need to put it on like HDR, like sharpness all the way up, get some crispness to that beard. Right now it's looking like a blur, like like it's drawn on or something. I don't know.
Well, that's a good thing.
I don't know if that's a good thing though. It may not be. You might actually want to show that it's like a real beard. You know. So we'll find out one day. We'll see what's up with the beard. We'll do hashtag beard challenge one day. Still needs to be
No,
a we
no,
need
I'm
we
not
need
shaving it. I'm not shaving it. I'm not shaving it. Nice try.
Scared. So scared. Anyway, I know you got to get rolling. Say hi to the
Yeah.
missus.
All right, bro.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I'll hit you up soon. And again,
Yeah.
Photo Miai, thanks for coming by. Mr. Camera Junkie, James. Who else do I see on the regular? I see some regulars in here, like names that I appreciate. Yeah, I can't see the rest. But anyways, yeah, thanks for coming by. Miguel, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
We'll talk more camera stuff later.
Definitely. We'll catch up.
Yeah.
I'll see you.
All right.
Peace. All right. So big thanks to Manny for joining in on the stream. And I'll answer a couple more quick questions before I dip out. Igor was saying, guys, all in all, have you been impressed? A new Sony camera. I mean, I'm definitely impressed. I mean, I think anybody who watches this, who watched the announcement and wasn't impressed doesn't know what they're looking at, because what Sony was able to do, by all accounts, is extremely impressive. Being able to have 50 megapixels, 30 frames per second, 8K video, and actually usable 8K video. We're not talking like 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then it overheats. Like usable 8K, unlimited 4K and 120, like what you have with the S3. As a flash shooter, being able to shoot up to 1/400th of a second. I mean, there's a lot of other features, which I'm sure when the camera gets here, I'll get a chance to really dig into that and I'll talk about it. But I feel like I have nothing else to do but be impressed. And I'd be willing to bet you that there's going to be a lot of Canon and Nikon shooters who are looking at it like, dang, and they're impressed too, because the camera's a beast. And it's not even just that, right? For all of you all out there who are Apple users who swear up and down about this idea and this word called ecosystem, here's what blows me away. Apple users that do not shoot Sony will say, oh man, I stick with Apple because of the ecosystem, right? There is no more developed an ecosystem in mirrorless than Sony. Like, they have tons of lenses, first-party lenses. They have even more third-party options from companies that some of you, if you've shot other brands, you've never even heard of before, but that make really good glass. So yeah, it's just interesting because the ecosystem is a big deal when it comes to the computer and your phone. But then on the camera side of things, it's like, oh yeah, well, I shoot the Z system. And it's like, they don't have anything yet. The Canon R5, they've got a handful, right? 59 lenses, first party in the Sony system. The ecosystem is crazy. Off-camera flash, they got flashes from every brand that you can think of with triggers that do regular, do high-speed sync. Like, yeah, the ecosystem is strong right now with the Sony stuff. Do you think rolling shutter performance will be improved or eliminated with a sensor output at 30 frames per second? I'll be interested to see. I mean, I think, having used the S3, to me, rolling shutter hasn't even been something that has affected any of my videos. Obviously, if you were to do like an actual rolling shutter test, maybe the experience will be different and you'll see something different. But I don't know. To me, when it comes to rolling shutter, like if I don't see it in my day-to-day videos, I'm not really worried about it. But I'll be interested to see. I'm sure Gerald Undone will probably do a video doing all of that, like really hardcore stuff. But yeah, Photomiak says Miguel is not a real Apple user. He doesn't understand how a real ecosystem works. No, listen, brother, I do know how it works because I got a lot of friends around me that are in the ecosystem and they show me and I'm just like, okay, that's cool. But does your phone do this? And like for me, for example, I'll give you a prime example, right? iPhone 11, I don't know if it's like this with the 12, but I bought an iPhone 11 and I returned it on the very last day that I could return it. And I ended up getting a Note 10 or Note 10 Plus. But while I'm driving, right, I like to listen to YouTube videos. With my Android phone, I could actually have YouTube open and I could do something else at the same time, and the video continues to play. iPhone 11, I would be watching YouTube, and if I want to go to my Messenger app or go to something else, it cuts off. I don't know if the 12 is the same, but it's like little day-to-day stuff like that makes it to where I couldn't even consider dipping my toes. Like I had it for 13 days. The 14th day, basically, I was like, yeah, I can't commit to this because the way I use my phone day to day, like I'm a multitasker. You know, I'll be using another prime example. So I have a Nest security system. So if I want to watch YouTube, but also monitor because my kid's room, he's got a Nest camera in there. So if I want to make sure, like I keep an eye on him whenever he wakes up, I want to make sure that, you know, he's not awake for too long before I go in there. I could have my Nest app open and see all of my cameras and also have YouTube open and watch YouTube. Somebody was commenting premium YouTube. YouTube Premium, you can listen to it, but I don't know that you can watch two different apps at the same time. Let me know if you can, but I could tell you, I don't need to have YouTube Premium. I could have regular old plain Jane YouTube or any other combination of apps. You know, I could be on Netflix and be replying back to an email or a text message or browsing the web. Let's say, for example, when they do these product announcements, you could be watching the live stream product announcement. And if you're wondering how much it is, you pull up Chrome, pull up B&H, do the search for the A1, and you literally still have the little window open to watch the video. So, you know, for me, that functionality is a big thing. So, so you have to be a user to understand it. You could be like my friend said, you're just complaining about features, the same features we complained about that Sony was missing, screens ergonomics. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm just telling you, like people that are close to me, yeah, it is, you know, my friend said, but I'm just telling you, having used it myself, because I bought into it twice. I bought into it with the MacBook and then later on bought into it with the iPhone. And I was like, man, for me doing like really simple basic things, I feel like day to day I get more functionality. And granted, there are things on, you know, iOS that are really cool. Being able to airdrop things is useful. If the person especially is on an Apple product on the other end, it's super useful. But there hasn't really been anything that I've run into that I wanted to do on Android that I couldn't do. But there was stuff that I do on Android that I can't do on iOS that just kills it for me. Kills it for me. I can't comment to an iPhone because they don't have a back button I can press. Yeah. Or I can't commit to an iPhone. Yeah. And, you know, that's another thing too. I mean, just the multi function capabilities on Android for me. Maybe, you know, iPhone will come out with those things later, but with a price point at 6.5K, I think this will actually drive R5 sales demand higher. Sure, those who care about true 8K without overheating will justify spending 6.5K. I think the conversation is bigger than that. I don't think that that will drive anybody to buy an R5 who is considering buying a Sony camera, because again, just like I'm teasing, but I'm teasing, but I'm being serious, but I'm teasing. But you got to look at the whole ecosystem. And right now, Canon is not offering everything that Sony offers. And so I think that there's more to it than just the specs that you're getting from the camera body. You have to look at the lenses that are available. You have to look at the accessories available. You have to look at compatibility with third-party apps. There's a lot, man. There's just a lot more to it than just, well, spec for spec, and then the pricing on the R5 is lower, so maybe somebody wants to go that way. I think if somebody is, you know, on the Canon side of things and they have an investment and they don't see or they haven't tested a Sony camera, then perhaps that might make more sense for them. But I could tell you that, you know, having been somebody who, like, I have a pulse on cameras, and I've tried a bunch of different cameras, whether you see me using them or not. I test these things because I like to be aware of like what's cool, what's good, what could be better. Um, and I got to tell you, like, I can't see somebody buying into an R5 unless they are a Canon fan. You know, if you have the option to spend that kind of money, I think that you would want to buy into a system that gives you more versatility and gives you more options. You know, it's kind of like right now, like buying into a PS5. I think a majority of the people who are buying PS5s are just people who want to have the latest and greatest. They don't have that many games that make you want to go buy a PS5, right? So I feel like the Canon and Nikon offerings are like that right now, where it's like the people who are, you know, going into it right now, like maybe down the road it'll be better, but at that point there will be a new camera body, you know, as opposed to where Sony is already putting out some really good stuff and they have a backlog of really good glass. So speaking of Apple and 8K, my new MacBook M1 rips through 8K like it ain't nothing. Apple for life. I mean, that's good. You know, it's funny. I have an FX9. I shot in 4K in the highest quality on the FX9, and I put it on my old machine, which it's like a Core i7 that I built by hand back in 2015, and I was able to edit 4 videos like this in 4K. 8K, we'll see. I have not played with 8K footage, so I'll be interesting. You know, it'll be interesting to see. Um, but yeah. Um, Sony is teasing further and further. One good thing is that Sony will keep pushing envelope, and that is good for us consumers. That's what I'm talking about. You know, I think everybody wins when a company can put out tech like what Sony put out with the Alpha One. Everybody wins because it just keeps pushing that ball forward. The expectations of consumers come along with that as well, especially with consumers who are like, yeah, I want that feature, but I want it at $3,000 or 2,000 or 1,000 or whatever. You know, I feel like it drives that innovation, which is really exciting. So I'm all about that. Another one too that I think is interesting. So I truly appreciate Sony keeps consistently improving, listening to the users, but I wish they offer some update via firmware like Fuji does. Sony does. They offer firmware updates all the time. I don't know how Fuji's are different, but I could tell you that, you know, I've updated the Sony firmware on cameras often. I know a few years ago, they updated the firmware on some of their cameras to have animal IAF where it didn't have it before. So they do these updates all the time. But the comment before that about listening to the users, I could tell you personally, I've had conversations with Tokyo, had conversations with the people at Sony that develop these products, and I could tell you right now, the reason why Sony is where they are right now in the industry is because these guys have a pulse on the industry. They do focus groups with photographers, and they don't just say, okay, well, let's say on the YouTube side of things, right? YouTube comments are very surface level. I want 8K. I want fill in the blank, right? When they do these focus groups, and let's say somebody comes to them during a focus group and says, yeah, I want to do 8K. They'll say, okay, can you explain to us how using 8K right now would improve what you do? And oftentimes the people that say that they want these things will say, well, I need it for this, and this would be great, and that would be great. When they get around to actually implementing these things into their cameras, they work great. Like they work in a way to where even when the person requested it, they didn't even think that they needed it that way, but they thought through it and they made it that way. So, I mean, I've probably taken part in no less than 20 focus groups in the last like 4 or 5 years with Sony. And that's just me. Like, I'm sure there's other people that, you know, maybe have talked to them even more than that. But, you know, they've always been good about listening, taking notes. You know, even some of the crazy stuff that I've said before where I'm like, I wish it could do this. And they're just like, yeah, we wish too, you know? But yeah, I mean, all of that to say, like, Sony definitely listens. They're always improving. And I think most of the time they improve beyond what people even expect for them to improve. So Igor was asking, do you think Sony will present the lenses with f1.2 in the future. I wouldn't be surprised, you know. Let me actually, I'm going to step off screen here for a second because I want to show you guys this. People have been talking about fast glass and like, will Sony have lenses that are f1.2 and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of third-party companies out there that are making fast lenses. For example, so I ordered this. I've got a video that's going to be coming up hopefully soon as my voice gets back to normal. But this is from 7 Artisans. This is, let me cover because the IAF is picking up back there. So this is a 50 millimeter f1.05 lens. Cheap too, like cheap in terms of lenses, and for the speed, it's cheap. It's like $500 or something like that. Cover up her face again. There we go. So so you have lenses. It's capable. Like the system is capable to have lenses like that. The key is here's you know, f1.05, very small and compact, but it's manual focus. When you start getting into that territory with autofocus, then you start getting these whopper lenses that are going to be huge, and that's okay. You know, I mean, people will buy it anyway. But you know, and this is prime, perfect comment. I'm glad you said this. Sigma has the 35-1.2, right? So here's the deal. When was this? This must have been a few years back. So before the 35-1.2 from Sigma was out in the wild, I was doing an event in Ohio, and they had the 35-1.2. It was one of like, I think 7 or 8 that were floating around the country, and it was a dealer event in Ohio that the Sigma reps were there, and they had the lens. And so they said, hey, do you want to go use the lens? And so I was doing a photo shoot. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. I'll do some photos or whatever, because I was curious. And the first thing that I noticed was, holy cow, this is a big lens. Like 35 millimeter lenses, like I got a 35-2.8 that's, you know, like the size of the case for my Bluetooth headphones. This thing was a whopper, right? So I go and I do the photo shoot with this 35-1.2, using it the same way that I use every other lens that I own. Continuous autofocus, wide area, eye autofocus engaged. And I'm doing my photos, taking my pictures or whatever. Everything looks normal, right? The IAF is tracking. It looks like everything is fine. I get to my computer, I load up all of my photos, I start going through them, and I'm like, ooh, I really like this picture. For me, in my workflow, when I see a photo that I like in Lightroom or Capture One, whatever I'm using, the first thing that I do is I punch into that photo, and I'm looking to see, did I get the eyes tack sharp? You know, is everything, all the details that I want to be in focus, is it in focus? And wouldn't you believe that, granted, I'm shooting at f1.2, but the IAF that said that everything was accurate and in focus, there were a lot of shots that were soft. And that was my experience with a variety, specifically of Sigma lenses that I had tried out, where I'm shooting in continuous, like the 105 1.4, another one where I was shooting wide open with this lens, and the camera looks and it operates as if everything is in focus, and it just wasn't in focus. So what I have since learned is that a lot of these older lenses, especially not so much the 35-1.2, but a lot of the older ones like the 85 Art, the 50 Art, the ones that were DSLR lenses that they built in the adapter into the design, they don't work well with continuous autofocus. And check me, look me up, look at Sigma's website, look at the, what is it, the MC11, look at the adapter, and look at what they say. Matter of fact, let's not even do that. Hold on. I want to show you guys something, because I thought I was crazy. And then I looked this up. Let me show you guys something that you might find interesting. Maybe I might be the only person that will show you this. All right. So interesting. Da, 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 da. So maybe this is why. Okay, let me share my screen with you guys. Hold on, I'm pushing buttons here. Hang tight. Stop screen. And now share screen. Let me show you guys this. All right, let me make sure. Okay, you guys are seeing it. All right, cool. So this is the page. This is off of Sigma's website. This is the MC11. This adapter essentially is what they integrated into their DSLR lenses that they made compatible for Sony. So basically what they ended up doing was switching out the mount, putting their adapter, right? So I want to see, because this has changed since the last time I looked at it, but let's go back here. All right, so when used with a camera body that is compatible with fast hybrid autofocus, AFS mode, which is autofocus single, the MC11 delivers extremely fast and smooth autofocus performance. With other camera bodies, contrast detection autofocus, it offers very high precision autofocusing. Okay, so I'm going to click on this for the full thing, but this is really important. So my guess is with these DSLR lenses that Sigma makes that have basically have this adapter built into the design, I use AFC, right? And you don't see anything about AFC in that paragraph, right? You see AFS, fast hybrid autofocus, but not autofocus continuous. And I remember at the time when I looked it up, they had a specific thing about continuous autofocus. It's reverting from phase detect autofocus to contrast based autofocus. So that is a big thing. That is a big deal because contrast based autofocus is not as accurate as phase detect autofocus. So if you see me looking off screen, it's because I'm on this other technical support document. Here we go. Bam. All right, check this out, guys and gals. Let me continue to school you on something here. All right. Let me show you. For all the people that talk about Sigma and how great they are, and it's fine if you've got Sigma lenses that work for you. That's good. All right, here we go. Let us read together. This is the technical document. Let me scroll up to the top. That basically just kind of breaks down all the technical stuff with the MC11. Okay, this is on Sigma's website. All right. Again, fast and smooth autofocus when used with a camera body that has fast hybrid AF and AFS, which we already talked about. Okay. Notice AFC. Look at all the X's. Okay, that's autofocus continuous. That's the mode that I'm using for most of my shooting. With a Sony lens, a G Master lens, I'm shooting in autofocus continuous. The eye is constantly being tracked, and it's just waiting for me to push the shutter button and take the photo, and it comes out sharp. Notice what it says in the notes. Not compatible with AFC, autofocus continuous, or AFA, which is a mode that I never turn on, but it comes on by default on most Sony cameras where the autofocus, as soon as you turn on the camera, it puts something into focus. I don't have mine set that way, but autofocus continuous is something that I do use. And so coming from using it in that way to using some of these Sigma lenses, autofocus continuous is not, it doesn't work. So for everybody that says that, that it works, it's so good, they're better than the first party stuff, my experience has been totally different. And maybe it's just the way those people are using their cameras and using the lens. But, in my opinion, using it with autofocus continuous, which is the easiest way for you to do a portrait session, it's not compatible. So that kind of sucks. Long rant, but hopefully you guys learned something. Can you try the Alpha 1 with the G Master 24 on a milky video using AK? I would love to. I don't know that there's a way, a place here in Florida where I can get access to have skies dark enough to do it, but it's on my list of things, the places that I would like to go where I can actually shoot some Milky Way stills and do some time lapses and stuff like that. So totally. Just going back through the comments here really quick. All right, so let's see this one. So, hey, Miguel, I got the A7R4 and do not remember a hard update. I asked Sony rep why, and they said they make them right the first time. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, there's been plenty of cameras that have had firmware updates. There was one firmware update that I remember that within a week or so, if that, there was a firmware update to fix the first firmware update, which is common. So yeah, that's happened before. Why do all model photographers use a Canon? I don't know that that's true. I know a lot of people that photograph models that use all kinds of systems. I think, I forgot what that is called, but sometimes when you, let's say if you buy a car, right, you're going to notice when you go out and drive how many people drive that vehicle. And you wouldn't have noticed it before because you weren't paying attention to it. But when you own it, all of a sudden you're like, oh man, they got a Ford whatever too, right? And you didn't even notice it. Like, oh man, I saw like 15 Ford Mustangs on the way home. So I think that's what happens when it comes to cameras. And in this case, I mean, I photograph models and I shoot Sony. So I'm not going to lie. I'm thinking about my income tax check and selling all my gear. Yeah. You and me both. I mean, I've got two R4s and an S3 and and an FX9, and I'm very much considering selling my FX9 and going to the Alpha 1. Don't know if I'm going to do that because I love my FX9, but that definitely looks like a sexy proposition. Are you shooting at f1.8 in the studio? I'm usually at f4 or 5.6, f8 in the studio. I don't know if this question was for me or not, but for me personally, I mean, I do shoot some stuff wide open in the studio, but I would say the majority of the stuff I'm shooting, I'm at f8, f11, 13, 16, because I like my stuff to be really sharp and really detailed. So, all right, so we've gone on for a little while on this live stream. So if you guys are watching this live stream and you haven't already done so, I need two favors. One major favor and one that would be kind of nice. First and foremost, if you've been watching this live stream, click the like button on this video. Please, please. That's all I want. If you don't do anything else for me, my birthday was December 26th. So y'all are late. It's okay. But if you could do me one favor, smash the like button on this video. Then if you want to be extra nice, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Because here's the deal. I'm going to get off this live stream and find out where my Alpha 1 is. And I'm hoping that I will get one very, very shortly, like before it's available publicly. I want to know what you guys want to see when that comes in. I want to make sure that whatever content it is that you guys want to see from me specifically using the camera, that I can hopefully deliver on that. So subscribe, hit the bell notification, because what I've noticed is if you're already subscribed, unsubscribe from my channel, subscribe again, and then there's a little bell icon next to subscribe, tap that. Because what I have noticed that's happened is a couple of my last few videos that I've put out, I've had my subscribers come back to me and they're like, Miguel, we haven't seen a video from you in a while. And I'm like, oh, I released like a video last week and one the week before. They never got notified because YouTube's notification system sucks. So the only way that you will be notified 100% for sure when these videos release, which they will release, is to make sure that you have the bell turned on to receive all notifications. And I'm not one of those YouTube channels that usually posts, you know, a bunch of random stuff every couple days or anything like that. I spend a lot of time putting these videos together. I have a lot of really exciting videos coming up. I have one that, like I said, as soon as my voice is back to 100%, you're going to see it. It'll be out there. So yeah, make sure that you subscribe. Will you make a giveaway if you hit 100K? Absolutely. It's already planned. I think I'm at 90. Where am I at right now? Let's see what the count is. So right now I'm at 94,337 subscribers. So when I hit 100,000 subscribers, I have a big giveaway. I was actually hoping to have done the giveaway already, because I was hoping to be at 100K before the end of the year. But looking back at 2020, I realized that I've not put out enough content, and that's my bad. You know, I'm not making excuses, but I talked to you guys at the beginning of the stream, so maybe on the replay if you want to see what happened. But basically, I've been suffering from the effects of what I've been told is called the COVID pneumonia. And so I'm just now like slowly getting over it. I don't know if you could hear it in my voice through this live stream, but my voice is not as it normally is. It doesn't feel the same. It feels very weak. So I'm hoping that as the medicine continues to clear me up, that hopefully my voice will be back to normal and I can get back to pumping out videos. But literally from September of last year to right now, this very second, this pneumonia has been kicking my ass, like straight up. And I haven't been able to make videos the way that I would like to. So, you know, God willing, hopefully my voice gets back to normal and I can finish off some of the videos. I have one video that I think you guys are going to love, that kind of takes me back to my roots, where I'm comparing a cheap camera and a very expensive camera. And I think the results are going to be like very shocking to many of you. So hopefully I can get those videos knocked out. But with that being said, please subscribe. At the very least, leave a like on the video. Again, thanks to Manny for joining me for the live stream. I'm going to try to connect with some of my other YouTube buddies here in the next few weeks to try to bring more people on for you guys, because I know, you know, you're here for me, but I have a lot of friends that I think you'd like to hear from as well. So I'll see if I can bring them on for future live streams. But with that being said, everybody, listen, stay safe. You know, leave your comments about the Alpha 1 in the comment section of the video, because I'm going to come back to those comments when I get the Alpha 1 and start making my videos. And wear a mask, be safe. I saw this comment come in, workshops. So I still have my Dramatic Portraiture 101 tutorial on sale. So if you want like a really comprehensive tutorial workshop, you could download it right now. It's 89 bucks. And I cover shooting studio, like my style of shooting dramatic portraits, plus 4 different ways that I retouch my photos. You know, it's like the most comprehensive tutorial that I've made to date, but I plan on shooting a new one this year, which will be like a 201, more advanced type of stuff. So as far as in-person workshops, so I'm going to be posting on my website, miguelquiles.com. I have 5 workshops scheduled between February and March. They're virtual. They're not going to be in person, but it's still going to be a lot of fun. So I'll definitely keep you guys posted on when that happens. But in the meantime, love you guys. Listen, be safe, wear a mask. Don't go, you know, whether you believe in this stuff or not, I can tell you, like, I've been super safe wearing a mask, social distancing, all that stuff. And I'm still sitting here talking to you guys on the tail end of literally the worst set of months, like 4, 5, 6 months of my entire life, dealing with this COVID induced pneumonia. It is the worst. And I feel bad for those people who had like full blown COVID that, you know, had fevers and all of these other things. It's horrible. Like, it's really, really terrible. I'm happy I'm alive. I'm happy I'm not dealing with those things and didn't have to deal with that. But what I do have sucks, because being somebody who's a content creator and somebody who has to use their voice as their tool to communicate, You know, it's almost like handcuffed me for the last few months to where I can't put out content. You know, I can't do my regular shoots because I can't bring people into the studio if I've got a cold or what seems like a cold. You know, so anyway, love you guys. Thanks for joining. See you guys later.